Well, let's bring in our political analyst and professor at Curtin University, Joe Siracusa, for a morning chat on a Monday. Good morning to you, Joe. So you've got to hand it to those soldiers in Mariupol for digging in, don't you?
Yes, good morning, Pete. Well, look, the Ukrainians are showing the human spirit that always takes place in warfare. I mean, people do fight to the death, particularly if you're defending your own turf. But what bothers me the last week is that as we frame everything in terms of good and bad, evil and good and that kind of thing, it's getting harder and harder to imagine a compromise. If President Biden or President Zelensky or anybody started to make some diplomatic offers right now, there'd be an enormous push on either side of them not to accept it. So it's getting harder and harder. And also, we're getting one step closer to an enormously bad situation. That is, these people are talking about low-yield nuclear weapons like they could be used. And of course, Pete, they could be used. That's why they were developed over the years. They've been developing these things for 30 years so they can use them in a low-level way. And so we have to worry about that. And Putin's made it very clear, of course, that the United States and NATO, he's fighting them at the same time. As far as Putin's concerned, he's at war with NATO. NATO, on the other hand, has made it very clear that if Putin steps in their territory, they'll be at war with him. And so, none of this, Pete, saves the lives of a single Ukrainian. So I heard some guy in Washington say the other day that President Biden is prepared to defend Ukraine to the last Ukrainian. I mean, it doesn't help these people at all that we're watching these things on the sideline. I don't care how well we arm them. And from these pictures you're showing in your package here, it's quite clear that Putin has wrecked the place. There isn't going to be much left of Ukraine when we're done. And so when we're talking about these so-called victories, now, I think sinking the flagship was really significant because we could talk about genocide and we can talk about good and evil till the cows come home. But when the flagship of the Russian fleet, the Black Sea fleet, is at the bottom of the Black Sea, there's no explaining that. I mean, where is this? How many people died? I mean, so this hardens attitudes on both sides. And I've been arguing that Putin is probably not as much as in control as people think he is. I think there'd be enormous pressure on the part of the Russian people to get even, to fight back. I mean, because their pride has been hurt now. And in my lifetime, I remember the Gulf of Tonkin resolution. As soon as President Johnson thought a couple of our ships were attacked in the Gulf of Tonkin, next thing you know, we had rolling thunder and we're at war with North Vietnam. And so I think there's no going back from this. So the thing is that how do we minimize life, and how do we get people to sit around a table and talk? Now, there's no war in history, Pete, that hasn't ended with a diplomatic solution. But this one is getting harder and harder to see because compromise is sort of off the table. And Putin has got a lot of time left. He's proved his point that the borderland country around him doesn't have a right to align itself. And it's quite clear, that we don't really mention this in the media, that NATO doesn't want Ukraine. They could have taken them a month ago, 2 months ago. They don't want to particularly take on this problem, nor does the European Union. So, we have Ukraine that's fighting for its independence, and no one seems to want to help Ukraine directly. Indirectly, they're prepared to help them. But at the end of the day, how many soldiers and sailors are there in Ukraine? And, these people can see the writing on the wall, as the pictures indicate, that it's going to take a long time to put Ukraine back together again.
Yeah,
and
who pays
imagine
for that? Yeah,
that's right.
Joe, appreciate it. We'll leave it there. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.